Alright, you lot. Today we're not ranting, we're exercising a demon that's possessed multiplayer for over a decade. SBMM isn't protecting noobs, it's punishing players who dare to improve. And while shills scream, "Get good," matchmakers behind curtain duct taping every game into mediocrity. So buckle up, this isn't rage, it's therapy with teeth. Let's take Band-Aid off. SBMM were never about fairness. It's a marketing buzzword duct taped to a maths problem. Publishers love calling it balanced. What they don't tell you is that it's balancing your sanity on edge or a knife. Here's what really happens. Matchmaker ain't trying to find you a good game. It's trying to force a 50% win rate, no matter how good or bad you actually are. It's not matchmaking you based on skill. It's throwing you into a rigged casino, where your win is only allowed if algorithm's spreadsheet says it's time. You could drop 50 kills playing objective like a legend. And next match, boom, you're paired with two rage quitters, clueless TikTok sniper, and a guy streaming from a potato. Why? Because machine decided you need to lose. Want proof? Let's talk about True Skill, Microsoft's golden child. Sounds smart, right? Except it's a glorified guess. It shrinks your MMR gains the longer you play, which means if you start strong, you're locked into hell. If you smurf, congrats. You just tricked it into thinking you're a literal toddler. And then there's Elo, ancient relic dragged out of chess and duct taped into shooters like some kind of matchmaking necromancy. Minute SBMM touches it, it breaks. Your MMR stops reflecting actual skill and starts spreading out like warm piss on a cold floor. Curve flattens, distribution gets warped, and all population gets stuck in purgatory. This ain't hypothetical, simulations prove it. Flattened skill curve, collapsing predictability, and in games like Overwatch, you got players sitting in negative MMR. Yeah, negative, as in you'd be more useful if you didn't exist. SBMM isn't making things fair, it's manufacturing mediocrity, chalking fun after every match, and gaslighting you into thinking it's your fault. Real kicker? Some devs know this. But it's cheaper to feed your algorithmic garbage than build a system that actually respects your time and effort. Because you improving, that breaks illusion. And they can't have that, not when goal is addiction, not competition. You ever wonder why better you get, worse game feels? That's not in your head, that's SBMM putting a pillar over your face every time you try to rise above mediocrity. Here's how it works. You improve, you train, you grind. SBMM nods, takes notes, then spikes difficulty until every match feels like sweaty esports cosplay. Your reward for improving? Headlock made of Smurfs, packet loss, and teammates with spatial awareness or a beanbag. Progression used to mean climbing a ladder, now it's running on a treadmill made of nails, while Matchmaker moves goalposts and shouts "fair fine" like a demented gym coach. And don't give me that, but it keeps matches close bollocks. The close game ain't fun when it's fabricated. System don't care if you're improving, it just sees a deviation from 50% and slams on brakes. Don't matter if you're outperforming by skill or carrying dead weight with your teeth. You win too much, pain engine kicks in. Now let's talk about whiplash effect. Mid-tie skill players, you're in compression zone. That sweet spot where every tiny MMR bump means facing cracked out lunatics with 1000 Hz monitors and full body G-fuel transfusions. One win, and SBMM throws you into a deathmatch against future esports prodigies raised in a bunker. One loss, here's a lobotomized squad mate named XXX420 Snipers XXX, who thinks objectives are optional. It's like trying to climb a mountain and finding out summit is a treadmill covered in banana peels. And while you're getting punished for winning, real parasites, Smurfs, are thriving. Because SBMM can't tell the difference between a new account and a cheater cosplaying as a bronze. They drop 30 kills, giggle like psychopaths, and get lobbies full of fresh meat because they lied first. SBMM don't stop smurfing, it incentivizes it. Because when actual progression feels like torture, people will do whatever it takes to escape. So yeah, reason you feel stuck? Yeah. SBMM's not a ladder, it's a trapdoor, and the more you fight it, harder it slams shut. Now for unholy trinity SBMM pretends don't exist. Smurfs, cheats, corporate gaslighting. SBMM's official excuse for existing is to protect new players. Sounds noble, right? Like a Kevlar bib for baby gamers. Except it's bullshit. Because if SBMM actually worked, Smurfs won't thrive. They'd get flagged, tagged, and thrown into a cage match with other sociopaths. But that don't happen. Smurfs love SBMM. Why? Because systems too dumb or too deliberately blind to catch them. You nuke a few matches in a fresh account, tank your MMR, and boom. Welcome to kiddie pool. Now you're seal clubbing actual beginners while algorithm claps like a proud parent. It's not protecting new players, it's putting the bloody target on the backs. And cheaters? Don't make me laugh. SBMM systems rely on data trends to detect abnormal performance. Guess who's really good at faking stats that fly under radar? Warlockers with 45% win rates and KD ratios just shy of suspicious. They thrive in noise. Meanwhile, legit players get false flagged because they had a good game while not streaming from a fucking toaster. And let's not forget who this all benefits. Publishers. Smurf buys a second copy at game, that's profit. Cheater gets banned, buys again, ka-ching. Rest of us, ones who just want a good fair match, we're in meat grinder. Your reward for loyalty is to be used content for someone else's highlight reel. And influencers? Ones with the SBMM is good actually text. They're either lying for sponsorships or so cracked on clout and custom lobbies they've never touched a real solo queue in years. These twonks get paid to gaslight you into liking a system they're immune from. Deception's deliberate. SBMM don't fix problem, it is problem. It's a scam, a racket, glorified population control scheme disguised as fairness. And we're ones stuck in gulag and mediocrity while algorithm plays God. Here's what SBMM really does to your game's player base. Because it doesn't just ruin your matches, it nukes entire ecosystem. At its core, SBMM is a population flattener, a digital steamroller that crushes natural curve of skill, variety, and chaos into a uniform sludge of predictable outcomes and manufactured parity. In a real competitive system, skill looks like a curve, peaks, valleys, outliers, room for clutch plays, wildcards, legends in making. But once SBMM grabs wheel, that curve gets steamrolled into a rectangle. Everyone must perform average or system freaks out. Result? You get stuck in MMR purgatory, a place where you can't get better, can't get worse, and can't break free. You match with players so eerily similar in stats and performance, you might as well be playing against your own evil twin, who also refuses to push objective and only uses a DMR. Now here's where it gets dark. Games like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, Overwatch aren't just guilty, they're repeat offenders. These games run so much SBMM smoothing behind scenes, they don't just balance teams, they scrub out personality. Chaos, chance encounters, lucky clutches, and underdog stories, deleted. Every match is scripted theatre now, and you're just NPC. And don't think devs ain't noticed, because this system doesn't just flatten MMR, it kills retention. SBMM creates illusion of balance, but it erodes fun. It frustrates casuals, punishes skill players, and incentivizes toxicity like a rage bait factory on crack. You want to know why player bases collapse? Why queue times stretch? Why matches feel like Groundhog Day with extra sweat? Because nobody's having fun anymore. SBMM turns your community into a ghost town of burnt out tryhards, bot farmers, and alt account enjoyers. Sad truth? That flat and fair distribution is exactly what it looks like. A graveyard for what multiplayer used to be. And we're all just waiting to respawn. Now, let's drag truth into light. Everything we just tore apart. Flattening, manipulation, misery factory that is SBMM. I didn't make that up. I'm quoting architect himself. Charlie Olsen, man who literally built this Frankenstein system, wrote 2 explosive blog posts. Matchmaking ruins everything, and what's wrong with being normal. And in those, he didn't just describe flaws, he blew bloody doors off. He showed us ugly truth. SBMM crushes skill curves into flatline, making progression feel like punishment. MMR systems built for chaos, not competition, warp performance into mediocrity. True skill, elo, all of it fails when forced to serve a 50-50 illusion. He even simulated disaster, warning that matchmaking systems are inherently hostile to good players and designed to preserve engagement, not fairness. So what hell happened? Enter Inside the Gaming Podcast. Suddenly our rebel dev turns into a PR sponge. soaking up Activision's narrative like he's auditioning for his job back. It's not engagement optimized. Activision wouldn't use it if it didn't work.
Skill-based matchmaking is a net win for games. That's not my opinion, that's just like measurable.
What? This is the same bloke who said normality is a red flag, who mocked idea that flattening curve helps anyone but algorithm. Now he's on air calling SBMM misunderstood? Mate, come off it. He tries to hide behind vagueness. I can't confirm or deny. They're not really doing the OMM. System works cause retention's stable. That's not honesty, that's lawyer speak with a controller in one hand and a muzzle in other. We don't have proof Activision paid him. We don't need it. Because what we do have is a contradiction. Public blogs burning down SBMM, followed by a podcast politely patching up ashes. This want clarity, this want controlled detonation. A tactical walkback dressed up as transparency. Charlie didn't refute his blogs, he blurred them. And truth is clearer than ever. System's broken, and now so it's story behind it. You want to know what that podcast really was? Clean-up job. An hour-long fire blanket thrown over at flames Charlie Olsen lit himself in his blog post. Let's be crystal clear. These blogs weren't harmless essays. They were devastating confession. He called out SBMM for flattening its skill curve until matchmaking becomes meaningless, killing natural variance and turning every game into algorithm-approved mediocrity, creating MMR volatility that destroys progression and punishes mid-tier players, simulating systems that confirmed retention-based manipulation. And let's not forget kicker. Normality is neutral. It's enemy of diversity and enemy of fun. But in podcast, Charlie flip-flops like a fish on an outplate.
But to jump to the engagement optimized, even conspiracy theories where people think like, oh yeah, it's taking in all this data about you and then figuring out exactly what it needs to retain you. Like, as far as I know and as far as I can tell, like they're still not doing that. Like the matchmaking paper that they published, like has nothing about that in there. And I would take that at their word. Like they have no reason to lie about it. So it really is like just a side effect of the rating system being volatile and having that built-in whiplash.
Bullshit. Even downplays smurfing. Yeah, you can smurf, but it corrects pretty quickly. Really? Then why are smurf accounts thriving in SBMM-infested games like COD, Apex and Overwatch? It says Activision running engagement-optimized matchmaking, while admitting they tweak knobs to improve revenue. That's like saying we're not cooking books, we're just creatively adjusting total. Contradictions pile up like rage-quit corpses. In blogs, he warns that hiding MMR data and compressing population is toxic. In podcast, he says hiding MMR is necessary for player motivation. He claims SBMM hurts mid-tier players with wild whiplash, then shrugs and says, well, most players like it. This isn't just spin, it's damage control disguised as disclosure. And its biggest red flag, podcast frames it like a friendly chat. No pushback, no follow-up, just softballs and Smurfs. Like they're all in on bit. This wasn't journalism, this were Activision apologia. Scripted or not, it reads like a bloody PR rehearsal with subtitles. And it worked for a bit. Fake transparencies suit Redditors, distracted doubters and buried blogs under a pile of corporate fluff. But now we dig them back up, because these blogs were a cry for help, and podcasts were cover-up. See, it's final truth, they don't want it said out loud. Skill-based matchmaking into feature. It's a cage. It don't reward skill, it punishes it. It don't balance games, it scripts them. And it sure as hell don't protect players, it exploits them. Man who built COD system admitted it were broken, then backtracked under bright lights for a podcast that smelled like Activision-centered damage control. They want you confused. They want you docile. They want you to believe SBMM is just misunderstood, like it's a quirky old uncle who ruins family dinners but means well. No, it's a con. And now you know how deep it goes. So what do? We stop pretending. We stop making excuses. We start making noise. Because if we don't, they win. Spreadsheets win. Lies win. But not here. Not this channel. Join Discord, follow on X, and check out channel memberships. All links are in the description. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and leave your comments and questions below. Might just feature them on channel. And I'll see you next time, you magnificent.